Hey guys, welcome back to Ferrigno Freedom Channel. I'm Dante Ferrigno and I'm glad you're here. I am going to review a video that I was just laying in bed thinking to myself, today's one of those days where when you wake up and you don't have anywhere that you have to be and you don't have anything that you actually have to do, like there's nothing on the schedule per se. I always have something I have to do. I mean, I know most of you are that way too. You wake up and you feel the pressure of all the things that are going on. And as some of you may know, recently I've been going through some difficulties with my thyroid and also with the effects of stress and the effects of stimulants, how they've affected me. I quit all stimulants. I quit coffee, I quit nicotine, and I quit using something that I started for a very short period of time called Delta 8. Over the Christmas holidays. It didn't help me relax. It made things a whole lot worse. And I'm finding that not everybody has these problems with stimulants, but I don't know. For whatever reason, I'm very susceptible to it. And I'm sure there are a lot of you out there who suffer with some of these same difficulties. I know there's a lot of you who suffer with depression issues, something for 3 years I have had no experience with since I started eating a carnivore way of eating called the Lion diet. But when I let these things creep back into my life, all of a sudden, I'm right back where I was in that mental state. I still feel physically better than I ever have. I'm still doing my sprints every day. But mentally, that can be the crippling thing that gets any of us on any day. And I know there's carnivores out there right now who are still wondering why they're not having all of these benefits. So if anything, I'm glad this recent stuff happened to me where I let stress and stimulants get back into my life, because it's allowing me to look at things that I had kind of put behind me, I thought, in my mind, that I don't have to worry about stress or stimulants anymore because everything seemed to be going pretty good for a good while, for a couple of years. And that had a lot to do with some financial factors in my life that worked out better than I expected that they would back in 2021. Well, things haven't been as good since then, so, things change. And I know you guys go through changes too. And it really just depends on where you are when you find this video. Now, I had just finished watching a video with Dr. Cywes. By the way, Dr. Cywes is somebody that I only started finding out about a month or so ago. And every time I watch one of his videos, I learn something that I didn't know before. And I'm so grateful to doctors like Dr. Cywes, Dr. Robert Cywes, Dr. Robert Cywes, that they are the lifeblood of our medical community. They are the saving grace. They are the true heroes, people like Dr. Cywes, who really take an interest in finding ways to help people get healthy, not only taking an interest in making money off of drugs and statins and their position, the trust that people give them, that many, many, many medical professionals violate on a regular basis for their own benefit. And it's doctors like Dr. Cywes that keep me from totally turning my back on the medical community. I know that it's been co-opted by the pharmaceutical companies, and a huge percentage of it is totally false and illegitimate and corrupt. But it's doctors like Dr. Cywes and other doctors, Dr. Sean Baker, Dr. Ken Berry, so many other doctors, Dr. Annette Bosworth, that actually are searching for truth and searching to share truth. And I know some of us have our arguments with even some of these doctors about some of the things they say. But the bottom line is when we're all searching for the truth, we're going to have a better chance of finding the actual truth, even if sometimes we stumble on the wrong things. Well, I've rambled on enough about this. I just wanted to kind of give you guys a setup as to why I even sat down here today to talk about this, because I found something he said very interesting, and I thought, well, if I find it interesting, my audience may find this interesting. And I don't even know exactly what he's going to say. The video is called Strategies to Make a Keto Lifestyle Permanent. Now, I've been doing that for 3 years on a carnivore lifestyle, which is obviously ketogenic. But what he mentioned was in his video, he mentioned something about stress being a killer. And then he said in his video where he talked about C.H.E.S.S, C-H-E.S.S. And that's in the thumbnail on this one too. So we're going to give it a look. and see what he's talking about. By the way, the video I was watching was all about LDL cholesterol and statins, which the more I learn about those, the better off I am, and the better off you will be too, even if you don't have any cholesterol issues and you don't have any heart issues, because if you're a carnivore, it's going to be the number one question you face on a regular basis. I've been resistant to studying it as much as I would like because my LDL has not been a problem. I'm not a high lean mass hyper responder, but knowledge is power. And when I'm trying to talk to people about this, I found it to be important. So let's move on to this video now. Let me go ahead and pot it up here so I can have it ready to go.
Hi folks, this is Dr. Rob Cywes, and I am the Carb Addiction Doc, and I have no shame in saying that I steal. I'm a thief. I'm an intellectual thief. But yeah, I come up with a lot of my own content. I come up with a lot of my ideas. But one of the things I'm doing, because my head is always thinking about this, is I filter information from other people. And so often, my patients who've been, or people that I know that have followed this channel, that have been impressed with what you're doing, they're engaging in the lifestyle, they're having fun themselves, they're smart, they're intelligent, and in conversation, in some of the comments, they leave wonderful phrases, wonderful words, wonderful concepts that I acquire and then I share with you. Now, if you want to call that intellectual stealing like I do, I'm just going to smirk at it. It's fine. Go ahead and do it. For example, I had a doctor a little while ago talk to me about the modern healthcare system, and she used a phrase, and she was bitterly upset about it. She said, I have been turned into a doctor who is no longer allowed to think. I practice algorithm medicine. And wow, that just struck me, that concept of algorithm medicine, and that you are no longer required to ask, why is this patient sick? You cookie cutter mold them into algorithm medicine. And that is just such a sad indictment of where our healthcare system is going. But then I had, and this is the purpose of today's discussion, I had another patient.
Gosh, he's barely gotten through the intro, and he is saying a mouthful right there about what I was talking about with the medical system, what's wrong with it. It's very similar to what's wrong with our educational system in that there's no thinking going on. There's just following the script. You follow the narrative. You do exactly what you're told to do, and you don't deviate from that. You know, one of the reasons why I dropped out of wanting to become a professor was as I talked about how I'm going to give essay questions on my history tests, because I find that when you write essay answers, that's how you force yourself to think, and that's what's required if you're going to learn something. But I found out why professors use multiple choice questions is because they can run it through a machine and get the grades done, and they don't have to do any work. They have to sit and read those tests if their students do them. And the thing about it is that you're not going to get tenure if you're focusing on helping your students get educated. You're only going to get tenure if you focus on publishing something, getting some prestige for the school. It has nothing to do with educating and everything to do with money. And the same problem is going on in the medical establishment now. And that money and control that so many want at those higher positions and the pharmaceutical companies, it's what's destroying the most wonderful medical system that we ever had at one time. That I don't even know when it was considered. I'm so jaded lately about our medical system. It's hard for me to even look back with a positive eye because I find so many fatal flaws that went on early on, all the way back to Ansel Keys presenting the LDL statin nonsense. I don't even know what to call it right now. These are the things that push my buttons more than anything now, because we have all trusted these people with our lives, and they're literally doing things that cause us to be dying and sick. And it's sad. But anyway, he said such a mouthful, I had to stop and mention that.
Okay. Who is really invested in our program, doing amazingly well. And she looked at our self-care program and she said, how do I create for myself a diverse, effort-based emotion management system to replace the removal of the carbohydrates as my addictive substance of choice to manage my emotional need. And that's the cornerstone of our carb addiction practice, is not just the removal of the carbohydrates, but developing a diverse effort-based emotion management system. And we talk about it, you hear me talk about it a lot, but she came up with a concept that she called C.H.E.S.S. C-H-E-S-S. And it just blew my mind. And she had written it out and she explained it to me. I said, Karen, I'm going to steal this from you. This is IP. You haven't branded it yet, intellectual property. And she said, by all means. And I love her for that. She's doing brilliantly well. But Karen, this video is a homage to you, because it's taking what we're doing and helping people to understand it in that formula. So C.H.E.S.S. The C.
Before we get into the C, I'll just say, I'll admit that's what I'm doing when I do these reaction videos for people who are talking the truth. Some of my reaction videos are for people who are opposing me or opposing the carnivore diet and things like that. But I find these things where I'm studying, where I'm learning about the things that I didn't know. I mean, all I knew when I started this way of eating is that I needed to save my life and that I had trusted somebody who had said some things, Dr. Jordan Peterson in this case, who talked about how a carnivore way of eating had saved his life, and I needed something to save mine. Well, now, since I have so many people watching, by the way, thank you. Over 50,000 subscribers as of this Thursday. I am just blown away by how many of you tune in to see what I've got to say. And it moves my heart to want to make sure that I'm watching this kind of stuff so that I can know what I'm talking about, that I can learn from the specialists and the experts to be able to present even more information. Obviously, I've got some kind of gift for communicating these things that people have pointed out to me, so I need to make sure that I have the ammunition that I need. So this is the kind of stuff I would like to watch when I do. And I thought, well, why not share this time with you watching it so that we can learn together?
The C, creative arts. So let me back up. What are we talking about here? We're talking about daily intentional practice of effort-based self-care, carving time out of your day every day to engage in something that gives you emotional restitution, allows you to think through issues in your life, and allows you, because you've put effort into it, to generate emotional well-being from within that in an unconditional way builds up in little increments self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-respect. And ultimately, when your sense of self is strong, you can generate emotional well-being from within. You do not need drugs to do this. So what is the foundation of an intentional and then a vicarious? So there's intentional and vicarious, if it's top of your head, ways to manage emotional need through an effort-based system. And that's C.H.E.S.S. So the first C are the creative arts. Reading, writing, music, fashion, photography, sculpture, painting, gardening, anything creative, doing puzzles, playing games, all of those things are part of the creative arts. And a lot of people are wired that way. A lot of people are musically wired. A lot of people are thespians. A lot of people are literates. A lot of people enjoy games and puzzles and arts and crafts. And if that's who you are and that's what you love to do, assign time each day to do that and put that in your environment. We almost always have some form of a puzzle on one end of our dining room table. So when you're walking past it, you stop and you put a few pieces of the puzzle in. And that surrogates, that replaces that perpetual walk to the fridge or the pantry, oh, what do I need to eat? Well, that is for emotion management. But sitting there and putting pieces of the puzzle in, or a Sudoku book that I've got next to my favorite chair where I drink my coffee in the mornings, doing some of that puzzle. Having a Bible that you read. We'll come to that in a second.
Amen to that. Amen to the doing Sudoku, too. I love doing Sudoku. It's been a while since I've done any, too, because I've been focused on so many other things. And then he mentioned Bible study. I can't tell you what a big deal it's been since my stepfather passed away not last year, but the year before last, back in 2022. It was in September, and it was such a sudden shock. It really affected the family tremendously. And my brother started he had been doing a Bible study with his wife every morning for years. And then he decided to include our mother in the call, in the study, by putting her on the phone, even though, because she lives, a fairly good distance away from him. And she was all alone all of a sudden for the first time in her life in her early 80s. And he wanted to make sure that he was able to spend that time with her that was going to be healthy. And then she invited me, and she invited a friend of hers, and she invited some other family members. And now for the past year and a half, almost a year and a half, we've been having this morning daily Bible study where we read passages from the Bible and we pray together. And sometimes I feel like when I get ready to just start to do it, it's like I don't want to do anything right now. I just want to be left alone. But every time, just like with my exercise, when I do those things, they make the big difference in my life, and they make the difference in other people's lives too, especially when it's something like getting together like that. Anyway, let's go ahead and play on.
Or having a little fork in a trowel like I do next to my back door, where I go out in my yard and I do some weeding. Creative arts. C. H. Healthy, empathetic human connection. Human connection. And no addicts by definition have healthy human connections. Because by definition, addicts' sense of self is in the toilet, and we're petrified and ashamed of how other people see us and what they think of us.
Oh, yeah.
Healthy human connection requires two things. Number one, implicit trust in the person that you're with, that they will not be judgmental or critical of you. Now, a lot of people out there will say things to you that sting, and they're critics because they...
Boy, does he know what he's talking about there, because as I've recently shared some things where my addictions have caused me trouble again in my life, and I've had them repeatedly in my life, to share them with the world is quite uncomfortable. But it's just something I feel like I need to do because I've been on this mission to help people get healthy on this way of eating, that I have to be able to share my difficulties too, because I know there are others out there facing the same things and the same challenges that I'm facing. It's kind of hard to wait and see how the results are going to come out. For instance, the videos that I'm mentioning, you may have already seen that I released this past weekend. Well, it's not even the weekend yet for me. As I'm recording this, those videos are still waiting to go live this afternoon. And I have a lot of trepidation as these lead up, as this is about to come out. And I don't know what people are going to react to it. But I believe with all of my heart that I would rather live with the truth and its consequences than I would with lies. And that's what it comes down to. Those of you who do offer supportive comments have a huge impact on my day because we have that human connection. It doesn't maybe feel like it from your end because you're just watching me on television sometimes or on your phone or whatever you're watching on. And it doesn't always feel that way on my end because I'm just reading words on a screen. But I know that those words came from somebody's heart. And when you're watching me, you can count on the fact that whatever I'm saying comes from my heart. The thing that kills me is those negative comments that I get from people sometimes. And a lot of times I know they're just bots. But sometimes people can be extremely hurtful with the things they say for whatever reason that they want to point out some flaw or something they found wrong with what I'm doing, or just the fact that I shaved my head and they blame the carnivore diet for all my hair falling out, which is absolutely not what happened. But that human connection still affects me, positive and negative. And I know that as long as I keep making these videos and I keep speaking from the heart, that I can give some of you that human connection that you don't have, especially if you're suffering under an addiction that you're ashamed of and you don't know how to talk about with anybody.
Now, a lot of people out there will say things to you that sting, and they're critics because they're not on your inside list. But 2 or 3 or 4 people in your environment are people that you can implicitly trust, that when they say something that stings, it wasn't meant to hurt. It wasn't criticism. It was meant to help. It still stings. But you want to take that thought out for a walk and consider it and process it. Comes from a critic, ignore it. So the first part of empathetic human connection is to establish unconditional trust in 2 or 3 people. We listen to what they say instead of reject it. But then into that space, within that space of trust, you then have to take the risk of being vulnerable, the risk of talking and putting out certain things you're ashamed of, certain things that are bothering you, certain things that you want to process in their presence. And also being receptive to their need to do the same. When your kids come to you and say, man, Dad, I had a rough day today with this kid that beat me up, or this kid that's bullying me, or this teacher, don't give them advice. Just be there, be present, and listen to them, and let them talk it through. Because once you start giving them advice, they do this. Become a listener. Become a listener. C, creative arts.
I have a bad habit of doing that. Giving advice when people are talking and not listening as much. And he's absolutely right. That's exactly what they do. A lot of times they'll shut down even more.
H, healthy, empathetic human connection. E, exercise. Now, I don't like the word exercise. It fits the little phrase, the chess word, but it's physical activity. And physical activity should be both intentional as well as opportunistic, because if it's top of your head, then it's replacing snacking. So I intentionally take my dog for a walk or a run every day. There are other times when I intentionally plan to do something. For example, right now, I'm intentionally planning to run a race in March that requires me training for it. So I've set that as a milestone, I've set that as an objective, so now I intentionally run every day in training for that race. But the intentional part is going to the gym, or going for a swim, or going for a walk, or doing something physically active every day, carving that time out of your day. But then also the flip side of E, of exercise, is looking for opportunities every day in your day-to-day life. Do that lonely set of stairs. Carry that basket instead of pushing the cart. Get up and change the channel on the TV manually rather than just clicking through the clicker. Park your car a little further away and walk that extra distance. Walk down to the mailbox rather than sending somebody. There's opportunities throughout the day. I call those action snacks. Action snacks. Do something a little physically active. Maybe even just stretching. When last did you do this? When last did you put your arms together above your head? When last did you sit flat on the ground, on your butt, crisscross position on the ground? Can you? Exercise. The first S is spirituality and meditation. And meditation is active. It's not just falling asleep. It is active meditation, calming your conscious brain down so that you can look at your subconscious brain, the conscious brain letting go of the emotional tension, the subconscious brain helping you to resolve and think through issues that are causing you emotional tension. So meditation is important, and spirituality has a very similar role. It really isn't just about church and Bible. It could be reading a verse of the Bible, going to church, but really that is an entry point to thinking about yourself in the context of that word, or perhaps having that connection, that conversational connection with your higher power. And man, I've had a rough day today. I need some guidance. I need some help. Or hey, I'm having a really good day today. But having that conversation to help you to deal with emotional need, spirituality and meditation. The second S in the chest actually has two forms to it. The first one is healthy sleep. Sleep, sleep, sleep. And so many people have sleep disturbance. And sleep is going to be a whole nother chapter in a whole nother video for us. But the essence of healthy sleep, yes, you want to do all the relaxing things to go to sleep. You want to declutter your mind at night. But something I learned in Poland last year from a guy who promoted something called the 555 Club, he said that the most important thing about a healthy night's sleep is waking up early at the same time each day. So I've implemented over the last few months a 5:55 rule. I don't get out of bed after 5:55. Often I'm out beforehand. Now at first few weeks, oh, you're miserable, you're exhausted at night. But guess what you do? If you're exhausted at 9 o'clock, you get into bed and you go to sleep. And you don't delay and procrastinate by dicking around, that's Latin, on TikTok or on Instagram or on Facebook or in front of the TV where you're meaningfully just dumbing down. We spend so much time late at night procrastinating on sleep because we're watching a screen. Well, if you get up at 5:55, you're exhausted by 9 o'clock. Screw the screen, I'm going to bed. And that becomes a habit. And if you go to bed at a decent hour because you're exhausted, it means you can wake up early. If you delay and go to bed at 12, 1, 2 o'clock at night, now you're hitting the snooze button, you're creating chaos in the morning and your day falls apart. I'm not going to go for a run or a walk if I'm exhausted. Not going to happen. Okay? But if I've had a good night's sleep, I'm really up for that run or that walk.
Okay, he said a lot there. Sleep is definitely hugely important. One of the things before I started doing this way of eating is that I could not sleep at night. Very shortly after I switched to eating only meat, did I find that I could go to sleep. Right when I got home and I wanted to lay down and go to sleep, I went to sleep. And then when I wanted to wake up in the morning, I got up and I went running. It wasn't until stress and especially the stimulants that I let come back in that I started to notice I was having a harder time getting to bed at night again, just slightly. Not even that big of a deal, just staying up a little later than normal. And then also I started waking up feeling more fuzzy and more foggy like I used to, but not as bad as it was when I first started. When I quit all of those stimulants, my watch tracks my sleep at night, and I know that who knows, somebody up there is watching that and they're going to get some information from that, but I don't care because I like knowing what it says about my sleeping habits and how many times I wake up in the middle of the night. In the past 17 days, it has said repeatedly that I have gotten better sleep, I've gotten more restful sleep, that I haven't woken up as many times in the middle of the night to either go to the bathroom or just to wake up in general. And that to me is evidence that quitting those stimulants was hugely important for that last S. There were times during my eating this way, over the first 2 years especially, I had tons of energy. It wasn't until I let the stress start to work its way in, and especially the stimulants. And then with my thyroid issue, this is still new to me. I'm still feeling my way through understanding how long I've had this and understanding how it works. But I can tell you cutting the stimulants out has already made a vast difference in my sleep, and I am sleeping better. I don't always wake up feeling like I would like, but I want to get back to that natural way I was feeling it when I had cut all this stuff out of my life. And I think it takes time. It's only been less than 3 weeks that I cut these things out of my life. I still occasionally feel a desire for the coffee or the nicotine. I don't feel any desire for the Delta 8 because that stuff is just... I know from my experience that it's horrible for me. Cutting those things out has been excellent for my sleep. And I think with time, it's going to get better and better because I'm letting that stuff get out of my system.
So the first S is sleep. The next S is for sex. Healthy sexual activity is an incredibly powerful effort-based emotion management system. Yes, it can become disruptive. Yes, it can become addictive. And in fact, the next 2 episodes on this channel are going to be talking about how to use healthy sexuality as a wonderful, beneficial, positive way to deal with emotional tension as an effort-based mechanism. And the final S in CHESS is healthy sexuality. So to recap, we've got creative arts, we've got healthy human connection, we've got exercise or physical activity, we've got spirituality, meditation, we've got sleep, and we've got healthy sex. And if you engage in those on a regular basis and daily highlight, carve out of your busy day time to do some or all of those, you do not need crystal meth, carbohydrates, alcohol, nicotine to manage your emotional needs. The escape from addiction is not just giving up, but replacing.
Yes.
And if you replace a substance abuse relationship with an effort-based relationship based on CHESS, you're going to make the right moves. Ooh, that's kind of a Howie Mandel moment. You know how he's stupid when he comes with those little analogies or that? I just did that, you see? If you use CHESS to make healthy moves, you're going to be the grandmaster of your own life. However, folks, if you're interested in having us help you to deal with carb addiction, give us a shout. WhatsApp us, call us, 561-517-0642. Thanks, Karen, for this content. But also, if you've enjoyed this content, support what we do.
All right, I'm going to support what you do by sharing this with my audience, because I don't know that they're all seeing these things either. And I'm so thankful to you guys for being here to review this with me. I don't know that I'm going to comment too much on that last S, because I'm a married man and I like to be careful with those type of things between me and my wife. But I can say that my life in that area, that last S, sexuality, is a lot healthier now than it was before I started this way of eating. The sleep is better. The spirituality is definitely better. The human contact it's kind of strange for me, because I'm a YouTuber and I have contact with thousands of people that I don't know. But my wife and I have much better contact than we had before in our heart. And then also between my family, because we've been doing the Bible study. Those things are definitely been important. And we've got new people that have joined us that we can't even fit anymore in the call. We use the iPhone and it'll only, I think, allow 5 people to be on the call at the same time. So we'd love to be able to get more, but now we have people gathering around one phone, where it would be the wife and the husband and maybe somebody else in the family. So it's getting bigger, but human contact is so important. And the exercise, obviously I talk about exercise a lot. Exercise is something you definitely don't want to do to excess, which I have been guilty of in the past, and I have probably be guilty of again in the future, because I push myself harder than I should most of the time, because I know my tendency to not do it, so I tend to overdo it. So I got to be careful in that area. And what was the C he mentioned? He said... what did he say C was again? Perfect. I can't believe I hit that exactly. You didn't see it, but I just replayed. I went back and clicked on a spot on the screen and found it. And the first thing he said was C, was creative arts. So that was perfect. And to me, that's just another evidence right there that this is the video that I needed to share today. Creative arts is important to me. I was a theater major in college, and I used to love to act. Now this is my creative arts, being able to put together stuff for you guys, to be able to use whatever it is, whatever gifts that I have, to be able to share, to lift up other people, to encourage other people, to show people the things that I've learned, and show the things that I've done that are stupid, that I've made mistakes with, so that we can all benefit from the knowledge that comes from those things. And a lot of times you guys are there to help me in that human reaction, that human interaction part, to let me know some of your stories and how they mirror mine, or also sometimes how they counter what I've experienced. And I learn from that too. So we're all learning from each other. This is a great video for not so much how to make keto lifestyle permanent, which is such a strange title for this video, but for how to make a better lifestyle in general. That whole totality lifestyle I've talked about for years now, physical, mental, and spiritual, it all plays together. And here's a medical doctor tying those things together for us, who's in the keto community, and I absolutely love it. So 2 thumbs up for Dr. Robert Cywes, and we'll definitely see some more from him in the future. I would love to hear your thoughts on what Dr. Cywes had to say. And if you have any thoughts about what I had to say, I'd love to hear those as well. So be sure to leave those in the comments. And I'll see you guys next time. Appreciate you hanging out with me.
If we pay extra, could we maybe get some grease or fat?
I was just sitting here working on a few more projects for you guys, and I just got a package in the mail from Carnivore Bar. I tried these when I was at the KetoCon event last April. And I am so excited to have Carnivore Bar reaching out to me to represent their product, because it's basically just pemmican. And this particular bar is the salted Carnivore Bar, which is exactly the way I like to make my pemmican. If you don't have time to do the things that you would like to do, and that includes making things like pemmican and dried meats and all that other kind of stuff, this to me is a wonderful solution, because I can have something like this. Like right now, I'm ready to eat. I love the simplicity of having something that I can just tear open when I'm in the middle of doing something and be able to stop and take a short break and have a delicious treat that is perfect for my way of eating. Each bar has 400 calories, 20 grams of protein, 35 grams of fat, and 0 carbs. Can't go wrong with that. Each bar is 2 ounces, which is just perfect when I need something to get me by until I can make a steak, or sometimes when I'm just not going to be able to eat the rest of that day. Like if I'm at work or something like that, I may not have time to eat. And I don't necessarily want to eat at 11 o'clock when I get home. So these are wonderful. They're not the cheapest thing in the world, but they are a godsend when you need them. So if they're in your budget and you're looking for something to make your life simpler on a carnivore diet, give Carnivore Bar a try. I love them.